Hey everyone, what's up? Today I am back again with another review video. Today we've got the Donner D1 Performance Beat Machine. Big thank you to Donner for sending me this out to review. Quite compact, so quite a fair bit smaller than all the other kind of sampler machines that I've got. So not only is it standalone, but it's also got effects. All right, so let's get it open and have a look at what's inside the box. Nice little welcome pack. That's just a thank you note. For best experience, please check for the latest firmware before using your Essential D1. And then I guess this is just a quick start guide. This box is probably the power supply, USB-C cable, the power supply. Now that is, I believe, a US style plug. Wow, this controller is a lot smaller than I was expecting. It's super compact. Wow, it's quite heavy, you know, quite a solid bit of kit. First impressions, it's very small. The pads are definitely a lot smaller than I was expecting. They're not square as well, which is what I'm more used to. They've got a good bounce to them, nice and soft. Much more like the machine pads, like the feel of them, than MPC, which are kind of a little bit more harder. And then these buttons here are a little bit more clicky. So we've got clicky pads here, and then I guess these are touch sensitive because these haven't got the click to them, but these ones do. Pretty solid faders, considering how tiny they are. They've got a good weight to them. Pots, you can feel the spin on them. That kind of makes it useful for when you're using the effects to kind of get it a bit more precise, so it doesn't feel like it's just smooth, like it's got a kind of click. You can feel where each parameter is going to hit. Oh, and these ones on the end are a bit harder. So these ones have got the kind of click, or I guess friction to them as you turn them, but these two are nice and smooth and a bit more resistance to them. Nice silver color. It feels kind of plastic. I don't think it's a metal top. We've got some good input output, power button, USB-C, headphone, aux in, MIDI, and a line out. So I think that's just standard jack TRS line out. Plastic casing. It has got a bit of weight to it though, like I said, like it feels pretty heavy. Really nice size for like if you're traveling and stuff. We've got some transport controls here, a few different buttons, bank A, bank B, bank C. And then on the pads, it's got little symbols with letters, which I'm guessing is telling you where the drums already are. And then these have all got displays on them as well. Let's get this plugged in and have a go at actually using it. Just plugged in the USB-C cable and tried switching it on. So it's not bus powered, in which case I'm going to have to try and find an adapter for the plug. I've gone to the Donner website, downloaded the software, which has given me this Donner control, and then it's pretty easy to upgrade the firmware. This app is pretty cool. It looks like you have your sample library manager here, so you can see all the samples, add in your own. Basically find any samples that you've got on your computer and then just drag them in here. Pretty easily add more samples onto what's already there. So you can see I've only used 1% of the storage with the built-in sounds. I think you can probably add quite a lot of sounds in here. Settings. For finger drumming especially, it's really important to have good velocity sensitivity. So at the moment there's no sound. Plug in some line out cables because it looks like you can't deliver audio over USB-C. I'm just plugging in some jack cables into the master out. The USB-C is handy if you want to add more sounds and stuff. We have to have the power cable in for it to work, and we have to also have the line out to get the sound. So let's get this plugged into my audio interface. So we have got sound. We've got a note repeat here. So I can see it says 16th on it, which is pretty cool. So if you press and hold, and then this one says 13, so you get some nice trills, and then we got 64. Oh, nice. That's pretty cool. So this one says fill A, and this one says fill B. So it's pretty handy if you're not a finger drummer, or you're not particularly good at your fills. I guess it's got some built-in fills here. We've got some controls for the volume here. I can see it says ABC, so I guess if I press bank B, it's going to let me control the next row. It's cool that the color here on the faders changes to match what's here as well. You can see exactly which one it is you need to change. That's a really cool feature. If a controller is intuitive, instantly for me, that's like a green flag. If I have to spend ages reading a manual, honestly, like I can't. So bank C is going to let us control the next one. Okay, nice. We've got pitch. It's pretty cool. You can individually control the pitch of each one. Decay. So I can lengthen and shorten it. Got high pass. Panic. So here we've got effects return and our master sound. So I guess these are like built-in loops for the sequencer. While the loop was playing, I could hold down the hat and kind of do that note repeat thing down here. If I press and hold this fill A or fill B, it kind of does that fill. This encoder does actually press in. So if we go to beat slot, so this is where we can control the metronome, tempo, global BPM on. You can access all the stuff here on the actual controller itself. Here we've got our velocity sensitivity settings. This is in the Donna control software itself. So fixed velocity, obviously it will mean that anytime you hit the pads, it's going to hit at the same volume every single time. For me, that's a big no-no, especially for drums, because I feel like you lose a lot of dynamic range. And so for finger drumming, I really prefer not to use fixed velocity at all. If I really need it, it's going to be on a specific like melodic or chord chop, and it will be just on that where I can control the amplitude envelope of that specific pad, especially if you're doing like rolls and fills and stuff. Hi-hat patterns, you want to have that groove, you need to have that dynamic range in there. If I put this on linear, which I guess if you think of it in a graph terms, it's going to be straight. I think log is a little bit more curved, but yeah, in linear, let's try it on softly. And if I put it on log, you'll see the difference again softly. So soft, I have to really hit it hard to get it to sound loud. Normal, bit less extreme, and then hard. The normal feels about right. So all those options that you could see on the software, you can actually access here, which is pretty cool. So if we go into kit, let's see what the lo-fi kit is saying. It's a bit of a shame actually that I can't use this bottom row for sounds as well, because I actually quite enjoy having a 16 pad layout. So the fact that you can only actually use these rows, so it's a 12, 3x4, which is a little bit more similar to the KO2, which I mean, it's still doable, but you kind of lose out on quite a few pads that you could use for sample chops, because these are kind of, I guess, more controls rather than you just being able to use them as sample pads. Considering what they've put on the controls here, I think it's pretty cool. You know, these note repeat are very handy. So at the moment I can hear there's no choke group. The send controls work for each. So let's see, like with this snare, if I put loads of reverb here, so I'm doing shift, reverb, and then you can put delay on it as well, right? That's quite cool. If I want to maybe put just loads of reverb on this kind of crash cymbal, you set the parameter for each pad, the effect send, so reverb and delay, and then what you can do is you can control whether it's on or off from this one as well. So I've turned it off here, and then I can turn it on. A tiny little controller like this for it to be able to do that, and you to be able to control individually how much of that effect send it's doing. That's very impressive. effect, so Tron. That was a quick run through of the different built-in kits, which I guess the samples are from Loop Masters. So really nice kits, real good playability and stuff. I know there are some more slots that you can build your own kits, and it has got a pretty big memory. You can add in a lot of different stuff. I've just been sent an updated manual for the D1, which shows you how to change the individual sounds on each pad. So one problem that I've run into with this is that if you go to change the pad, so to do that, you press the pad you want to change and you're going to hit the value knob. It kind of keeps you in the menu for the bass drum. I don't think there's a way for me to access the other menus, so if I wanted to access the folder for snare drum or whatever. This might come with an update as well, but at the moment what I'm going to do is we're going to go into the Donna Control software. I'm actually going to drag the relevant sound for the corresponding pad into the folder. So it's not going to match with what the folder says it is, but it's going to be in the right place for me to find it where I want it. We can keep the kick on the bass drum folder. So these are just some samples that I've found off Splice. Snare also is in the right place. That's going to go into 2. And actually for this one, which is LT, that's where I want to put in my hat. So that's going to go into LT. And my second hat is going to go into the next folder, which is this HC. For my open hat, I'm going to use this kind of tambourine effect. It's got quite a nice reverb tail on it. I'm going to put that into CR. So that's going in here. So that Song Star sample is the one that I want to use for my main sample. So I'm going to drag that into sample. Okay, now that I've got my samples loaded in, I need to actually load them onto the individual pad. So first of all, I'm just going to choose like an empty kit, press the pad I want to change, and I'm going to press the value button in. And I can scroll all the way down to the bottom because I know that's where my sample is located. And we're going to load that in. And we'll do the same thing for the snare drum and work through all the samples. Melodic sample. So the pitch function is kind of working like a vinyl pitch, right? Like it's slowing down the speed as well. Here we can control the chop where it starts. So let's change the endpoint of this sample. So it's not playing the whole sample. And then we're going to load in that sample onto here as well. Just double checking I've done pitch -2, so I'll do this one as well, -2. And we'll do the start point in a different place. Gives you a value number here when you're controlling the start point, so you can kind of see where you're at, right? So that's at 0, and then I've done the trim to 3. So on this one, I guess I could start it at 3. Maybe a bit later. So one issue that I'm still running into is the absence of choke groups or mute group. There's nothing in the user manual to say that there is something available, but I imagine it's something that will be available in a future update. Obviously for finger drumming, it's kind of quite important to have those choke groups to be able to cut off a sample from one another. But what I'm going to do to kind of overcome that, because sometimes you will encounter this kind of problem on different controllers. So like for example on the KO 2, you can only have one choke group per bank. So I'm just going to have really short chops. It does also actually work as a MIDI controller. So I've got it here in Ableton Live and you can see it's flashing up here. So say if I just load in Basic Kit, I can actually use it with Ableton as well as a MIDI controller. So again, the kind of bottom row doesn't work, but it does do the fills, which is pretty cool. I guess that's just a MIDI fill that it's triggering. Overall, I'm very impressed with this controller. It's a great piece of kit for what it is. Like, it's small, it's portable, it's standalone, it's got some great built-in effects. You can add your own sounds to it. This little light up fader, I think, is really neat. And that you've got built-in effects and you've got a sequencer here as well. I didn't really use the sequencer here except to play the built-in sequence that was already in here. I don't really use sequencers even when I'm recording finger drumming track. I much prefer to record an audio track of whatever I'm playing. But the fact that you can do that on here is pretty impressive. I think it's a really great piece of kit, especially if you're on a budget. So I think this on the website says it's about £289. £289, it's kind of in between the price of like a Machine Micro and a Machine MK3, neither of which standalone products. The only standalone product that Native Instruments does is the Machine Plus, which is more expensive. So if you're looking for a standalone controller, if you're looking for something that's portable on a budget, I guess this would be a pretty good choice. The only, I guess, issues for me are the size of the pads, the fact that it's only 12 of them, but the fact that you can also use it as a MIDI controller, which 9 times out of 10 I'm probably going to be using a pad controller in the studio or whatever. So it's great that I can connect it to Ableton and use it like that as well. It's pretty solid. It's been pretty intuitive in terms of setting everything up. This is a great little device if you're trying to get into finger drumming as well. Like, the pads are super sensitive. They've got a nice feel to it. As you saw during my demo, I was able to kind of play quite a lot of beats. It is a little bit tricky doing those 30-second note hi-hats, but I think the fact that it's got these kind of note repeat features and the fill features is really a really nice addition. I think the D1 would make a great controller for a beginner finger drummer. Comparing size-wise, this is a launch pad. It's the size of the launch pad buttons, which again, I find these ones a little bit small, but I guess they're kind of the same width, but obviously they're just a little bit slimmer. In comparison to the Machine pads, you can see they're quite a bit smaller. The MPC Live pads are probably about the same size, I'd say, as the Machine ones. There's not much difference, but the MPC One, so this is the MPC One Plus, which the pads are a little bit smaller on these than the Machine or the MPC Live. And you can see it's still, they're quite a bit slimmer, but in terms of like the layout, the distance, it's not too far off the MPC One Plus. Compared to the KO2, they're actually bigger than the KO2 buttons. KO2 buttons are quite clicky as well. These are much more like, you know, your standard pad controller in comparison to these, which are much more clicky. We have got the SP404 Mark II, which I'd say out of all the controllers is the most similar in size. These are a little bit slimmer this way. Also, the SP404 pads, I would say, are more similar to the MPC in the sense that they're kind of harder. That's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment. Thanks very much to Donna for sending over this D1 controller. It's been pretty fun to play around with. I've been super impressed by a lot of the features, especially the fact that it's a standalone device, which is not something that I was expecting for something this small. That's awesome. And until the next one, happy practicing.